being our last class, I probably will end early enough, so if there's any other general questions, I'll try to take some time. But if you thought of anything that you wanted to ask before we get started today, let me know.
Well,
You're all experts.
no,
right?
you were gonna do something on dock management today?
Was it doc management? Because I thought we got past that.
Well, it was,
Something extra.
you know, all of the icons that end up in the dock every time you use it, and you've got to manually pull them out.
No,
When you close down
I'll
the
go through that,
application,
yeah.
okay.
No problem, I'll just bring up, so, okay, so here's a doc, and as I mentioned in one of the earlier classes, probably this last week, the three icons on the right side, you can't remove them. Those are there, they're the last three applications you used. And they just show up automatically, and they go away automatically when you open another application. That's the way that works. But all the ones on the left, you can see very lightly, there's a bar in between the left and the right section. There's only three on the right. And then, depending on what size iPad you have, you may have as many as a dozen or more on the left. And those are the ones you have control of.
All right.
So if you want to add an application to the bar, you just hold it long enough. For example, if I want to add Dropbox here, what we're looking at, I just, oops, didn't mean to do that. What I need to do is hold it until it starts jiggling a little,
Yeah.
and then I can just drag it down over the
Yeah,
bar.
okay. Mhm.
And the way you get it off again is drag it from the bar when it's wiggling and put it back up like that.
Mhm.
So, and as long as there's room, you'll be able, as long as it was within the limit, which I forget, I think it's 13 or 14, and this is an iPad Pro, the small iPad Pro. It will keep shrinking the icons to fit them on the screen. So
Mhm.
you'll notice if every time I drag one off, it actually makes them bigger again, because it fills up the whole left-hand side.
Right. And if you touch the X,
That deletes it.
it deletes it only in the dock, but not,
No, it deletes it. If you delete it on the X up here, it deletes it from.
right, but if you delete it in the dock,
I don't think.
I don't think it deletes it from the
It-
desktop.
Well, the right way to delete it from the dock is drag it off the dock.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay, just one point. If you press the X, and it's jiggling and it's got an X.
And if
and
you
it's-
press that X, it's gonna ask you, you sure you wanna delete this?
Because it comes off the system, off of the iPad.
And it's off the iPad, yes.
And is there any way to get it back?
Well, it depends. If you synced with your iTunes, the next time you sync with iTunes, it'll come back. Otherwise, if you don't have it synced with iTunes, you've lost it. You have to re-download it from wherever you got it from.
Okay, and how do you sync with iTunes again? I mean, what do you mean by syncing with iTunes?
You open iTunes, you
Okay.
plug in your
Yeah,
iPhone or your iPad,
Right.
and there's an icon for your device that will show up on iTunes. And if you open that up, they're in iTunes, there's a few buttons that show up at the bottom. One says sync.
oh,
If you do that, that syncs your apps and so forth on your between your iTunes and that works, by the way, either on your PC or your Mac.
okay, and so that's a good thing to do, isn't it? That would be.
To sync with your, yes, it's a good thing to do periodically, because then you have a backup copy.
Right, it's on your computer also, if
Right.
you have a computer.
The other way of doing it, which I'm actually gonna get to today, is using the backup facilities that are available, which actually is more sophisticated than that. I'll get to that shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right,
Got it.
then we'll continue here. Oops. Okay, so we talked last week about the multitasking where you can do drag and drop, have two apps open at the same time. And I think we also talked about scanning documents with markup. We talked about, I know about the older, how you find out whether you have older apps still on your iPad or iPhone. We talked about reader mode, so we did cover most of what's on this slide. Okay, so the next topic I was gonna talk about briefly is what I was just mentioning earlier, which is backup. This is a screenshot of iTunes. It happens to be on my PC, but it looks pretty much exactly the same if you open iTunes on your Mac. And what it does is it allows you to back up your device. So what happened was, normally what happens when you first plug your device in, you'll see the icon for it up on the next to this, and then when you click on it, it will bring up, it'll show you. So here I was plugged into my iPad Pro, and now it's showing me here's all the stuff on there, and it gives you all these things you can do, which includes backups, which is the important part I was going to talk about right now.
Okay, can you just tell me what that page is, because I can't read that. I can't see what it is you've hit
That's
on.
what it looks like when you go into iTunes on your PC or Mac.
Okay,
I can't do it here because I don't have a PC or Mac here, but
iTunes, and what is that image on the upper left-hand side or something, whatever it says?
this one here,
Yeah,
that's when I am running iTunes on my PC or Mac, and I plug my iPhone or iPad in via the cable, the USB cable into the device. What'll happen is you'll see an icon shows up on the right-hand side, and then when you click on that, you'll get, that's just showing me that's what what was connected when I took, this is a screenshot because I'm not connected right now.
okay, okay.
So that's just telling me, at this time, I happen to have been running iTunes on my PC, and I plugged in my iPad Pro, and when I did that, it's just showing me, yes, you have the iPad Pro plugged in. And then it also tells you a bunch of settings, what's on that device, and so forth. But the part I was going to talk about more here is this middle section here, which is backup. One of the things they introduced with iOS 11 was the ability to do two kinds of backup. Before this, you could back it up, and what it would do is it would make essentially a copy of everything on your iPad. It would copy it over to your either PC or Mac. And that was like, so you have a backup copy locally on your PC or Mac. They also added the capability in iOS 11 of doing a cloud backup, meaning you can save it on the internet and recover it from the internet. That's kind of useful because if you don't happen to be at home where your computer is and you're like out on vacation or whatever and you need to restore your backup, you can do that from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection and you sign into your Apple account. And that will allow you to back up and restore. So both of those options here, you see what it says automatically backup or manually backup. Automatic backup means every time you plug the device in, it will start backup automatically. And
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you get me to this screen?
on a
From
P-
yours?
Yeah.
you can't get to that screen.
Oh, I can't get to this screen.
That screen shows up on a PC or Mac, not on an
Oh, okay.
iPad. It's running iTunes on your Mac or PC.
Uh-huh.
Most of you don't have iTunes running on a subsidiary device like a PC or Mac? No, I gather is the answer.
No, I do have it running on my iMac.
Yeah, so if you go to your iMac, that's what you'd see.
Uh-huh.
And you'd see it when you have an iPhone or iPad plugged in to the USB of your Mac in that case. So, the backup options are when you plug in and start to do anything sync, it's automatically going to create a backup, and you can tell it what kind of backup you want to do. So I can either back up, if I check that box, it allows me to do an iCloud backup, meaning it's going to send everything to a storage location at Apple on the internet. Or if I do the bottom one, it's going to save it locally on whatever computer I'm running iTunes on. And you also have a choice of whether you wanna encrypt the backup, if you wanna be really secure with, people getting access to it. And then on the right-hand side is, if you wanna do it manually, you can select one of those two choices and you can say backup now or restore backup. I often actually will do both, and the reason is because now I know I have at least 2 copies of a backup, and it's, in some regards, it's quicker to do the one because I may not have the on the internet. If I need to restore it because my internet's down, it's nice to have a copy on your local PC or Mac. But you can simultaneously just next time do a manual backup on in the cloud as well. Either one works. So the restore will ask you where it is, the backups are kept, and it will then pull it back in and essentially restore the state of your phone. You only want to do this if you have, don't do restore if you've made a bunch of changes to your iPad and you hope to preserve them. So, because the whole idea is it's going to essentially completely replace what's on your iPad with your backup copy. So that's kind of important. So, and I'll ask you to confirm if you want to restore anyway. So. Does that all make sense? Backups, I highly encourage backups. I keep telling this to my wife who has a Mac, and she has like 50,000 photos on her Mac, and I cannot get her to put them somewhere. I say, you know, one of these days you're gonna come and ask me to help you, and I can't, because you don't back up the stuff that's on your computer, so. I highly encourage it, as you can imagine, as I've just said. Okay.
So how did you get to that previous window?
Okay.
Remind me again.
Okay, so you have to run iTunes
Yeah.
on your Mac or your PC.
Yeah.
And when you go there,
Okay, this is on your, okay. I
this
got
is a screenshot I took from my PC.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
But I can't show you live here because I don't have the PC here, so.
that's what you said last week. Okay, very good.
Okay?
Yeah,
Okay, now, I mentioned in a previous class about some of the photo editing capabilities, and I was gonna do a more extensive discussion of memories. I think I pointed out, and I sent everybody an email with the links to these 2 documents, which you'll find pretty helpful. But I was
Yeah.
actually going to demonstrate a little bit. I don't think we did that before. Like I said, it's one of these sort of, people aren't aware of it, but it's one of the more powerful applications you can have on your iPad. So the way you get to memories is you bring up photos. Oops, I was doing it earlier. So normally when you bring up photos, what you're seeing is your collections of photos. In iOS 12, they actually get organized for you by date or by album. You can do it that way too. So I can also find all the albums I have if I click the albums. Okay, but the one that is important for this part of this the class is, see that one on the bottom there that says for you?
Yeah.
That's how you get to where memories are. It used to be in the last version of iOS, it had its own tab at the, you know, at the bottom here, but they combined it with some other things now. So if I click for you, then you can see your memories.
okay.
And
So
these-
that's iOS 12 that has that.
Both iOS 11 and 12 have memories. It's
Yeah, I
just
know.
where they're located. It's
The
different.
for you is a
Right.
12.
For you is 12.
Yeah, enhancement, okay.
So, what you get when you go to memories, and I think I may have mentioned this earlier, was the great thing about this application is Apple uses artificial intelligence and actually makes collection of your photos automatically. It does it by title, by dates, and so forth, and it will try to create a presentation for you, all automatically, including music and transitions, which is kind of nice. So, let's see, I'll just show you one as an example. This happens to be, this is an old one, but happens to be a bunch of photos I have of my kids when they graduated from school or
That's
whatever.
nice. But did you put music to it, did you say? Music?
I do, but the music isn't playing because I've connected to the
Yeah.
external
Oh,
thing,
okay.
so.
Oh, pretty girls.
These are my nieces.
Oh, wow. I
That's-
love those old photos.
Well, I do a lot of this kind of
And
stuff.
I love this panning.
Well, see, that's all automatic, that's what's cool
Yeah, I
about
know, I love
this.
that.
That's my mother-in-law.
Oh, beautiful,
Anyway,
lovely.
the idea is, and functionally I realize, this is the problem with the projector version of this. You can't see what I'm seeing right now, which is really a pain. So what happens is, I play the video, and when the video's playing, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button that says Edit. Now, I realized that this was a problem, so I actually took a screenshot since last week and added it to the presentation so I can show you a little bit better. Normally, they'd both be visible on the screen, but somehow the way it splits up the video doesn't work quite right on the iPad when you have an external video interface. So, let me just go back to where we were.
Can you control the timing on
That's-
memories?
That's exactly what we're gonna talk about
Okay.
next. So it wouldn't be as interesting if you could only use what it decided to do itself. Turns out it's an incredibly flexible application. So when I click Edit, which you couldn't see, what you get is a screen that looks like this. And that gives you a bunch of the options you have for modifying the application. So you can change the title. It does create a title automatically, but you can edit the title. You can edit which image it uses for the title. You can select the music. I'll notice that second choice down here lets you select from whatever music you happen to have on your iPad. And you can select the duration, which will automatically spread it out or not spread it out.
So that's after you press the edit button.
That's after you press the edit button.
Okay.
It will create one automatically the first time, but then you can click edit and you can change things in it.
Okay.
So this edit button, is that on the iMac or is it on here?
No, it's on here. The problem is, I couldn't show it to you because,
Okay, where would it be on here?
okay, so where it would be, okay, bring up the memory and that's the easiest way. Okay, just click on one of those. And click the play button.
Yeah.
See that play thing in the middle there? Next to that girl, the
Next.
arrow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
what
so
you
it comes
see
up after you
is-
played it once.
Yeah,
Mhm.
push on it again, there should be a button up, yeah.
There, the two parallel lines, is that the edit button? Or does it say?
It says
edit?
that,
What do
well,
you wanna do now?
oh, press pause on the right.
Yeah.
This
There
one
should
here.
be an edit button. Where's edit on yours?
Let me just look, excuse me.
Because on mine, which is, I'm running iOS 12, you probably have 11.
I'm sorry.
It's supposed
Screw
to
you here.
press the play, and it should show up with an edit button up in the upper right-hand
So
corner.
let's press play again.
If you touch the screen
Try that.
while it's playing memories, it stops it and brings
How
up
about
the,
activity? No. All we have are choices
Pick
are,
up the pause.
oh, we could export it, we could activity, or we could pause. Those
Oh,
are, oh,
yeah.
wait, how about down here, there's a little hand.
No, that's not it.
That's not it?
There should be a thing up on the top right corner that says edit. Are you seeing, has anybody else seen that?
No, I'm
No.
not.
Now you,
It's for you, then play. Press play.
I'll show you what it looks like on my iPad.
Sorry.
But again, I'm running iOS 12.
trying,
Hang on a second.
would you like to sit over here?
I can see it from there.
Okay, so if I pick one, let's see, like this one. Okay, and then what I do is I start playing it. See, it says edit up on the upper right-hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want to get.
Oh, I see it.
And you'll notice what it's doing on mine, I can't show you on the screen here,
Oh.
is it's actually scrolling through the pictures
Mhm.
on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
You can see what's in the contents of it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you're on 4.
so if I find if you get the memory rolling and then touch the screen, then it brings up the menu at the bottom.
Well, he did that, it didn't for him, so I
Really?
Yeah, I don't understand that, but
Mhm.
yes, it should bring it up. And what you can't see, because it's still playing the video, is at the bottom of the screen.
Right, it's
is-
scrolling,
It's scrolling, it's a sort of like a video editor at that point.
Mm.
you know.
And if you click the edit button, you can actually, that's how I get to the screen I was showing you before, which again, you can't see, so I'll just show you the screenshot.
This is what I get when I press edit. I just get the black with everything on the side.
So, touch the
Yes.
picture,
Touch the picture.
and what do you get now?
Nothing. I don't know why. Okay, something's awry.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that's not doing it, maybe if I have time at the end of the class, I can take a look. But generally speaking, you'll touch, you start playing, that gives you the option of clicking the edit button. And when you click edit, you get
Opportunities to change it.
right.
How many seconds you want it up there, Alice,
Exactly.
and how you wanna,
And what you get is this. And this allows you to decide what font you want for your
Font.
title,
yeah,
and
duration.
duration, and you can actually drag and drop new titles in there as well. So at the bottom was, if there was that was sort of like the panel of the pictures that were in there. You can actually bring up a second application like we showed you in an earlier class and drag and drop another picture in it. It'll just go into the sequence that you're showing. So you can change the order of things.
Mm-hmm.
You can insert new pictures, you can change the music, you can change the speed, and so forth.
So how do you change the order
Okay, so I believe, hang on a
of
second.
photos?
So when you have that strip at the bottom, you
Yeah,
should be able to select one. Are you in edit mode? Click edit,
yeah,
up on the right.
okay.
And when you're there, let me see what you'll see.
Photos and videos,
Go to,
photos.
click that. See, that's showing you the pictures that you have in your
Right.
slideshow.
And there's a plus to add
Right,
more.
exactly. So that's one way to do it. You can also do it by drag and drop. So if you hit plus, you can actually add one from your collection of other photos.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you can add new pictures. You can also, on that timeline on the bottom, you can drag the pictures to different order,
So there's a trash at the
right?
bottom. Does that trash
Oh,
the whole sequence or just the picture?
No, trash
that-
is the one you're looking at.
The one you're looking at, okay.
It's interesting, this is one that they automatically did, and they, in some cases, chose a split screen.
Yeah, it's kind of clever how it does
It's
this
very
stuff.
clever.
I'm not exactly sure what the algorithm they
I
use.
know.
They use some artificial intelligence built in to figure out how to do those.
Yeah,
You can't necessarily completely duplicate manually everything it does, but it's kind of nice, so.
yeah, but it was, at first I thought there was something wrong.
No, no, no.
But it was, in fact, they chose to show two images.
I got the edit to come out.
Oh, you
Oh,
did?
good.
How did you get that to go?
I went to a different picture,
Okay,
so I did this, that.
now you,
Did you go to a different picture on the bottom?
Yeah.
No, there.
This one down here.
you've got edit up there.
Yeah.
You did have edit.
Yeah.
So, now you,
Now you got
now
edit.
you know how to do it.
Right.
Yeah, but I wonder why, let's go back up to the other one.
Well, maybe that wasn't a,
There you go, found this one now.
yeah. So, you can't do every, it's not a full video editor, but for quick things you wanna put together, you took some pictures and visit to relatives and you wanna construct something to show them, this takes like almost no time at all.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It'll create it automatically and you can do some minor editing very easily, so.
Mm-hmm.
I think And as you found, it's even smart about how it picks and organizes the pictures, so. It's really pretty cool what it does. Any general questions on that? I think, I'm trying to remember, because we sort of skipped around a little bit last week. Talked about other photo editing applications that you might want to be aware of. So, Photoshop Elements is a really nice app. It's a paid application, but it's from Adobe, and you can get this. You buy it once. It usually depends on. It can be somewhere between $79 and $99. You get it at well, online for sure. And they used to sell more software at Best Buy. I don't know. It dropped a lot of their software titles. But what's nice is it's identical. It has the same application that runs on a Mac as a PC. And remember I had showed you earlier that you can sync to albums that you create in Photoshop and actually bring them over to your iPad. So I personally think Photoshop Elements is one of the most powerful ones for that. Another application a lot of people like to use is Google Photos. You get that for free. It used to be a different application from Google called Picasa that was quite popular. For some reason, they decided to obsolete that. Now you got to get Google Photos, but you can find it in the App Store. The other one that's good is Photoshop Express. Photoshop Express has a little bit more sophisticated for like composting and photo adjustment capabilities. And then the other one are slideshow making apps. There are dedicated slideshow applications on the PC and the Mac, which I use on occasion, that are more sophisticated than something like Memories, where you can do much more sophisticated transitions. You can do spinning and make one photo merge into another photo and things like that. And there are a lot of those out there. The other category is graphic design. Inspire Pro is a very popular application, and what's nice about Inspire Pro, it's really painting with some drawing capabilities. And what Inspire Pro has is you can use, if you have an Apple mouse, or an Apple pencil rather, it will allow you to use the pencil to draw on the screen while you're doing it.
Could you just say that name again? I just can't hear it.
Inspire Pro.
Inspire Pro.
By the way, I did put the latest copy of this presentation on Google Drive for the class,
Thank you.
so I could show you what Inspire Pro looks like, as I happen to have it.
Is this a paid app?
It's a paint, but it also has drawing capabilities as well.
Excuse me, I meant paid, P-A-I-D. You purchased this, or is it a free app?
No, it's not free, it's a paid
Yeah,
application.
okay.
I forget what this one costs. Most of these kind of apps are under $100, somewhere between $50 and $100. I mean, to some extent, you have to understand why they charge for some of these, because it takes a lot of work to develop
Oh, yeah.
these and keep them maintained,
Sure.
so. So one of the things you could do is you could bring up painting tools, change the size of your canvas. You could put logos and links to things like Instagram on your picture and so forth. I remember how you get to that.
So, again, the name is
Inspire Pro.
Inspire Pro.
If you look on the App Store, there's a fair number of painting and drawing applications
Yeah.
of various qualities. I would encourage you to just read the reviews and see what people say. I like Inspire Pro, although I don't use it all that much. There's some other ones, I don't know if it's still available now. There's another one called Dabble. I think that one is either free or, let's see if I still have it. So this is a similar sort of thing. You can actually draw on the screen. So you can pick drawings, you can fill, you can pick pen styles and things like that to
Mm-hmm.
scroll around with the pencil and things like that. So the other class of applications is movie editing. There are numerous of those. iMovie is probably the most famous from Apple, which is free. And you can't do iMovie directly on the iPad, but you can play their movies. Generally, that's an app that you can get for your Mac. And what it lets you do is some fairly fancy editing of videos. Another one, which is a PC app, is called Pinnacle Pro. I happen to have both of these, so I use either one on occasion. What's the professional one you guys use? It's
Premiere.
Premiere. That's another very popular one. That's another Adobe app. So there's a lot of possibilities out there. And what I encourage people to do is try them out, see what you like. They're fun to play with. Okay. So another topic is some quick tips I wanted to sort of go through. Slides backwards? No. Okay. So, I don't think I got to this last week, which is, how do you take screenshots? Sometimes if you're making presentations, including like the ones I did for this presentation, you want to take a picture of what's on your screen. And you can do that pretty easily on the iPad. What you do is you hold the power button and then you press the home button at the same time. And when you do that, what you'll see, and I'll try to do this with the main screen. So if I hold the power button, and then you'll see what it did is it took a snapshot that's on the lower left-hand corner here, and then it gives you options as to what to do. It shows up on that camera roll, as I remember originally. So when you do a screenshot, it automatically gives you some painting and drawing tools. So if you want to overwrite the picture with some lettering or text, makes it easy. I typically just bring these pictures over and then insert them in my PowerPoint presentation so I can illustrate things that you've seen in the presentation earlier. So it's really nice, it's very easy to do. They did change it, the new iPhone, the sequence is different because they don't have a home button. I don't know if you're all aware that there is no longer on the newer devices and the new iPad that's supposedly coming out later this month, none of them have a home button anymore.
So I was in Best Buy for some other reason. I was looking at the display. Yeah, it's just nothing.
There's nothing, so they have other ways of doing what the home button is. So instead of being able, you press the power and I forget, there's another button you can press and that simulates the same thing. The reason they got rid of the home button is it takes up real estate. And
Yeah.
on the newer devices, they really bring the screen all the way to the edges of the screen. So I guess they decided people were more interested in that. So, but you see, if I pick a pen, I can draw right on the screen. If I had my Apple Pencil, I could use it a little more finely done. Say that. So, traveling with your iPad is another general area. Does everybody know what airplane mode is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just that last
Did we get to that last
one.
one?
Well,
I think it came up
it
out
came
of
up,
order.
yeah, out of order.
So the idea with airplane mode is it just makes a quick way to turn off the Wi-Fi and things that potentially interfere with aircraft navigation systems.
Right.
I think they've decided it really isn't harmful, because a lot of airlines allow you to not do this anymore. In fact, they have their own Wi-Fi on the plane, so
Sure.
you don't wanna turn off the Wi-Fi, but you need to find out from whoever you're flying on as to whether that's a problem.
Yeah.
What's nice about it is you can get to it really quickly, because if you go to the control panel, see
Remember
that,
that one? Yeah.
it's up that little icon up on the,
Yeah.
that turns airplane mode on
Yep.
and off. I don't know that we talked about Apple Pay. Apple Pay is a really nice thing. More and more people are using it, and almost everybody accepts it now.
Yeah, you talked about it.
Okay. Basically, what it allows you to do is, it's probably you can do it on an iPad, but the iPad's kind of big. It's a lot easier to do it on your iPhone, where you can just, wand your iPhone over they have the thing that you usually put your credit card in, and it will take it and it will charge whatever the account you have set up for using for the Apple Pay. It's very convenient for making purchases. So, I don't think I talked about this. Other applications are enabled for both Touch ID and Face ID if you have one of the devices that supports that. So, what a lot of applications do is they let you turn on Face ID as an alternate, so you don't have to keep remembering your passwords, which drives me up the wall. 'Cause my memory is getting worse and worse, as probably a lot of people's is. So Touch ID is great, because you don't have to remember anything, you just put your finger on it. So what's nice about that is, so for example, I think I mentioned before, some of you may use the MyChart app from Dartmouth Hitchcock. Well, it's not coming up today, but there it is. So I set this up to use Touch ID, so I don't have to remember the password for it. Most of the banking applications support the same thing. It's usually an option. Once you have to log in once using the regular password, there's some settings that you can go to that lets you turn on Touch ID. I think we did mention this before too, which is if you need to create a PDF file, everybody know what a PDF is?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a real quiz. Does everybody know what it stands for?
Pretty darn fast.
Close. Portable document.
Something document,
Yeah, portable document.
portable
File.
document, right, file.
Most people just use PDF and nobody knows what it means anymore, but, and you can pretty much get a PDF export of any web page you're looking at by using one of those export buttons. I think I showed you with that little square
yeah.
with the
Right.
arrow on the top. One of the options in there is usually create PDF, and that will automatically create a PDF that you can save or do whatever you want. They're kind of convenient, because the nice thing about PDFs is it's a what they call WYSIWYG layout, so you get exactly what you're looking at in the file.
What you see is.
What you see is what you get, right. The next little quick tip is Bluetooth. Bluetooth is another communication standard that uses a slightly different technology than Wi-Fi, but it's used for local devices, because it only works up to 32 feet or less. And what it lets you do is connect to a lot of sort of companion hardware devices. Keyboards is the best example, but hearing aids. Yours didn't work, but
No, I got it to work.
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. But it also works, that's how the Apple Pencil communicates with the iPad or iPhone.
And it's funny with my phone for control.
Yeah, works. I happen to have a wireless headphone that also uses Bluetooth, which is very convenient, so. And basically, you go into the system settings for Bluetooth, and you can see all the devices, and you can then have it pair with one of the devices. Pairing is just a way of having the two devices recognize each other. And every device has a slightly different way you start pairing. You gotta look on the manual for a particular device. I thought we talked about reader mode.
Yeah, we did.
Reader mode?
Yep.
That's
That
the
was where
thing
it
where-
strips out the.
Yeah, on a
X-rays.
web page where it cleans it up and makes it look really
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
I think we did do the slide. I don't know why we skipped the other stuff, but okay. Did we talk about the tab key?
Yes.
Yes, you did do that one.
Okay. I don't think we got to this one, using iPad with an Apple TV.
No, I don't think so.
Did any of you have an Apple TV?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I do, and I use it
Yeah.
a lot. There's a couple things that's nice by syncing, like using your iPad in conjunction with your Apple TV. One of which is you can project anything you're seeing, for the most part, there's some exceptions to that, from your iPad to your TV. You can view videos. Some applications prevent you from doing it because I don't know why, they just don't want you to get around some of their requirements. But most applications allow you to use your iPad with Apple TV. So what happens is when you switch on the Apple TV with the iPad, you'll get two choices. Whatever you say, send it out, and you'll get either iPad or the Apple TV. So you can switch your output from one or the other.
I'm gonna say that again. Starting with the iPad.
Yes. So on the iPad, what happens is, and I can't demonstrate it here because I don't have
Mhm.
Apple TV connected at the moment. What you will usually get is an icon up at the top, the export.
No,
What you
but
get-
starting with what app?
Excuse me, a lot of apps will let you do this. You just
Mm.
set it up and it will, if you see an icon that looks like that, that's the video export.
Okay. Mhm.
And when you click that, what it will do is bring up a thing that lets you select where do you want to send the video.
Uh-huh.
And that's this little pop-up that shows up. And you can select Apple TV or the iPad or go back and forth.
But for example, if you want to project your memories,
You
is
can do
there,
that. Yeah,
there's
that's
an
perfect.
video export
Yeah.
icon for that?
That's one way to do it. What's
Mhm.
nice about that is you don't need the special cables or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
It uses the connection, you have to be on the same, your Apple TV has to be on the same network
Yeah.
that your
Right.
iPad is on. But
Mhm.
once they're together on the same network, you can just send it to the Apple TV.
Yeah.
And it will show up on the screen, so you can, it's really nice for showing slideshows of
Mhm.
photos, and you can show videos.
Mm.
Most apps allow you to export it externally, but there
Can-
are some that don't.
Can you use your iPad as a keyboard for,
Yes, actually, most of the time it will come up automatically. If you happen to be running something on the Apple TV, sometimes you'll see a thing that pops up automatically. It's smart enough to know you're connected, and it will say, do you want to type this on your iPad?
oh, okay,
And that, you don't have to do anything, it'll just come up automatically.
all right. 'Cause otherwise on your TV, you're using your cursor to type one
Oh,
character
yeah,
at a
it's not
time.
very convenient, I agree.
Right.
Well, what really works better is the voice,
Mhm.
because if you press the button on your remote for the Apple TV, you can speak it.
All right, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the other thing you can do, which I almost never use because it's restricted real estate, is mirroring the screen to the TV. The problem is the aspect ratio of the iPad, meaning the length to width, is not the same as most high definition TVs. So what you get is this square, this box in the middle of the TV when you do that. But what it lets you do is you can actually mirror everything that's showing up on your iPad on your TV, which is sometimes useful. Another thing that's really kind of useful is the Find Your iPhone app. Have anybody had to use that or used it before?
I've tried.
Well, it works pretty well for me. Let me see. I happen to have left my iPhone in the car. Let's see what it does when I do that. So what it will do is select the device,
Mm-hmm.
and you can say, well, okay, so like, where's my iPhone? So I happen to left it in my car in the parking lot, so you see. Your blue is showing you where you are, and that green dot is showing me where that device is.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, this has really been useful, because one time I accidentally put my iPhone on the security thing in an airport, and it went through the machine, and I forgot to pick it up. And I'm looking all over the airport for my own phone, until I put it on finally, oh, I know where it is, and I found it, so.
I had my iPhone stolen in Paris,
Really?
out of my back pocket.
Well, did it help you out of your pocket, really? Wow.
You thought it was a wallet or something, I think. I didn't worry about it, because I thought, you know, everybody's got a cell phone these days, but they wanted it. And,
Did you ever get it back?
no, but I shut it down.
You could do that.
Then I went to the Apple store in Paris. I was the third person that day that had their phone stolen.
Really?
No kidding.
That's been making the rounds.
I've had problems in Rome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Rome's are really
Rome
bad,
is
pickpockets are all
Oh
over the place.
my gosh, the pickpockets.
I had,
Now, how do you set up the two devices to do that?
you don't have to do anything, it's an automatic function. As long as your iPhone your device is on, it will find it, and then it's your device. It has to be one of that has the same Apple ID. So these happen to be all my family's various devices. So all you do is open it and select the device you wanna find.
And there's something ahead that says find my phone?
Yes, that's an app. Search for Find My Phone, comes standard in the iOS.
And where do I type that in?
If you go to, know how to get to search, what you do is pull your finger down from the
Go.
top.
Can I do this?
Yeah.
Now search right here. Right up here.
I have it showing on the
Find
screen.
my
right now.
phone.
Yeah, and the one that looks like the radar screen, that's it, you got it now.
So, there you
Now, if
go.
you have another device that's anywhere near here, you should be able to find it. It actually works over pretty long distance.
So see, you're right here.
Nope,
and
that's
your
not there.
device.
It's an app, so
Somewhere around
Okay, so I haven't got the Apple
You
yet.
want
you
that?
probably do, because it comes
So
standard.
you have that app. on.
So, go up to search,
It's not far enough.
drag down the search thing
Not
at the
far
top.
enough.
That's not it. You should just be able to pull down from the top, and you'll get that search bar that comes. Easy to do it.
Because I'm in class.
Usually, right.
Well, there's search.
Okay, so go to search, and then just type in, Find My iPhone. That's the name of the app. That's it, I can see it on the bottom. It looks like the radar screen, that's it. Click that, no, not that, wrong one.
Oh.
It looks like the radar screen.
Yeah, the one right up there.
Yeah.
You have to do the search again, but you see
Yeah.
that thing that looks like a radar screen in the middle of what I'm showing right now? That's it. Oop. So, I'm gonna go there,
iPhone.
yeah. That's it.
Ah, okay.
Are you not connected on the?
Hey,
Well, click OK, I'm not sure why it's giving you that. Oh, it doesn't know your Apple ID.
Ah, okay.
At any rate, what happens when you do that is, like, let's see if my wife is on right now. Yes, she's on. It goes over a pretty long distance, so for example, this happens to be in Brownsville, I know her phone's there. And if I scroll around, I can find out where I am. So there's some of my other devices, that's my house. And that's my wife's phone, she's at the school in Brownsville right now. And usually if you zoom out, you'll find out where you are. So here's where we are right at the moment. And I'll actually show you a picture of the device. So it's kind of convenient for sort of figuring out where people are as an addition, because if they've got their device, you can find out where they are.
Exactly, in the elevator, like my daughter in Chicago can find out where her husband and child are.
Right, exactly.
When they're coming home for dinner or something.
So it's pretty useful. Do you have any questions on that one?
I mean, it has, but it, yeah.
And you can search with
Oh, okay.
Siri to find the application too.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
type it in. we can speak rather.
Right. Okay, good.
So, iOS 12 came out, as I just started to say, about a month ago. It's not a major update. It has some nice new features, but it's generally the same with minor exceptions as iOS 11. So what I'm gonna do is just go through some of the changes that you might wanna be aware of. One of the things that they added is called screen time. And what it lets you do is, for those who spend too much time on their devices, it lets you set timers or limit the amount of time, and it will come up with a message that says, you've been on here for 2 hours, you shouldn't have been, or something to that effect. So you can see where the screen time settings are. It's in,
There it is, yeah.
I had it written on the slide, I don't remember. I haven't used it yet. It's in settings. Oh, here it is. So, for example, it's current, so on the top of screen time, it's telling you your current time. I believe this is today's time, and it will divides it up by the applications you're actually using. So that means I used an hour for productivity, which was the hour we did with the PowerPoint just now. Entertainment and reading and reference was the rest of the time I had an iPhone. And you can actually go down and set things, like I can set a setting for when I want to make me shut the iPad or iPhone off. I can set specific time limits for apps. A lot of parents use this to limit their kids from playing games forever. And then you can also set applications that you want to always be able to get access to. Then there's content and privacy restrictions. Let's see if I remember what's in there. So you can set privacy settings here for what people can get access to. So, I don't know how well received this is. It's new. I think parents particularly like it. It sort of makes you a little more aware how much you've been using your device, certainly. So here's just a perfect example. So if you set downtime, you can tell it when you want to be away from the screen, and if you want to override it for specific applications or phone calls, you can do that. So I can't comment too much because I haven't used it myself, and like I said, I think it's mostly was developed by Apple to respond to parents' complaints about their kids spending too much time, although a lot of adults spend too much time on their devices as well, so. So another feature that they improved in iOS 12 is they've always had the notion of notifications. You've probably seen them pop up on your screen every once in a while. Well, now they have a little more sophisticated capability. They are grouped, and you can get the notifications by swiping down from the top of the screen, and they will be you can get them all together, and they'll be grouped by sort of the type of application that's providing you that. So here's a weekly report for screen time and the notifications. Okay, so there's the week. It tells you whether you're up or down from the week before. So you pull it down from the top of the screen. Any questions on notifications?
Mhm.
Another thing that they did was they introduced the do not disturb, which I think always was available on the phone, but now it's available on the iPad as well. So, and it's actually an icon in the control center. If I bring up the control center, it's this like crescent moon button, and that turns it on and off. And what it does is it basically prevents you from getting notifications and anything that tends to disturb your time. So it's some people find it useful.
And you got that from,
The control center. Again, the way you get the control center is you
Here.
drag from the upper right-hand corner, you pull down.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
We talked about the control center before, but this is a new function of the control center. Another one that's kind of nice is they have this notion of a thing called Today View. And you can get to Today View by just swiping right from the left edge of the screen. So if I go here and go right, this will tell me everything. So these are photos, suggestions from Siri, stories from the news and things like that. And you can customize this. There's a place in the setup where you can actually decide what you want to include in this.
Mhm.
So you get to it by swiping from the left edge to the right.
Oh, from the left to the right now?
Mhm.
If you need to view it to the left, okay,
Yeah, so left edge to the right, and there it is.
okay.
One of the coolest new things they included with iOS 12 is called the Measure app. I don't know how many of you may be aware of that. What it,
I have it on here.
yes, what it does is, I have it in here twice, I need to do that. At any rate, let's go back up here. So what the Measure app does is allows you, it uses some of the artificial intelligence that they built in for gaming engine.
Mhm.
And what it does is you can actually figure out dimensions when it looks through the camera. So what's cool about this is if you point your camera somewhere and go to measure mode, as you can tell, I have a lot of applications on my, let's find it. Here it is. So the way this works is you point your camera and swing it around the first time, and that gives it a way of figuring out. It's hard to do with the case on it. I'm gonna take the case off. It makes it easier to do this. Okay, so what it's asking me to do is move it around. And what that's doing is it's reading the scene and trying to figure out what things are in the scene. And then what you can do is add a point. This is doing that. It's a little hard to do while I'm holding it.
Yeah, not easy to use.
Well, it's a lot easier to use this on a phone, but. Okay. So what this is doing is letting me put a point, I click the button to point at something on the screen. You
Mhm.
notice it's showing me measurements. So if I were to measure how big that is, it will tell me. You can put multiple points in. So if you're in a room and you wanna measure the size of a couch or the size of a table or pretty much anything, it's kinda useful because it automatically figures out the dimensions from the video.
This is in 12?
This is in iOS 12, yeah. It's kind of a simple app, but it's really useful. When you need to measure something and you don't have a ruler or a tape measure handy, it's quite nice. Any questions on that one?
I do.
How accurate is it?
Well, I don't know exactly. It's pretty good, though.
But
I mean, I was measuring
if you're trying to
things
get
myself.
to an eighth of an inch,
That's not the same app.
This is photos, I thought you said.
No, it's not in photos.
I'm
It's-
sorry.
It's measured.
Separate app.
There's a separate app.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And you have to, you actually have to have iOS 12 to see that
Which
app.
is on here.
Oh, then you should go up and look for measure. It should be.
Measure.
Yep, go for measure, right? That's it. Oh, I guess you got, oh, open, just click open. Okay, that's it.
Oh, okay. Ah,
Try it out.
ask and you shall find.
That's right. So everybody had their time to play with it a little. Kind of a clever little app. If you have an iPhone, they always had this little app called the Stocks app that lets you monitor the stock market. Well, they made a version of it that works well on the bigger screen of the iPad. So actually, it was bad this morning. I'll see what it looks like today. That's the icon for the Stocks app. Oh, really bad.
wow, 434.
It was
You
It was
should've
down
showed it.
500, then it went down to only 100, and now it's back up to, not a good day.
Interesting.
You should have showed it.
So,
Yeah, sorry, can't control the stock
so
market.
what is the name of the app? Just Stocks? So you have to get it from the App Store.
Measured
I
from
thought that
here
one comes with
to
it,
there,
so look for it on
8.5
your,
inches, which is,
Did it do that? 8.5. Good.
yeah, I mean, would I say it's accurate to, a micromillimeter? Probably not, but is it good to, a useful measure? Yes.
Yeah.
Another thing that they added in iOS 12 is voice memos. So it's a separate app, and I don't think you have to download it, as I remember. So what it lets you do is speak into the microphone in the device, and it will allow you to record something. Let's play a sample here. This is a test of the voice memo app. I don't see any volume here. Let's see. Oh, I think it's trying to get video externally, or audio rather. At any rate, I mean, I don't know how useful it is, but it's kind of nice if you just want to quickly bring up something that you can just speak into and record.
this is attached to the voice memo. This is attached to the voice memo.
That's a quick recording device, it's kind
Yeah.
of useful. So, this is actually the last section that we're gonna do in this class. A lot of these are just general user interface improvements. So they changed news, I don't know how many of you actually use the news app, but they've made it a little bit reorganized and more useful, I guess. So let's see if I can find it, can't remember where that is. So news pulls in, if you aren't familiar with it, it pulls in a compendium of information that Apple gets and presents to you in a kind of useful way. They changed it now so you get essentially it's organized, so you have a left side that gives you different places that the news is from, and then you'll get the articles that it pulls up. So if you're interested in midterm elections, you'll find articles that are related to that. It's pretty useful. Yeah, instead of having to go to a particular news site, this will pull them in to a single place. So go ahead and play with it. It's kind of nice. So they also changed the design of what used to be called iBooks and is now just Apple Books. So when you go to Apple Books, it's got, pull it up. So if you go back to once you go to a particular book, like this is the iOS 12 user guide, and you go to the home screen, it sort of reorganizes to make it easier to find things. So it gives you what you're reading, what might be of interest to you, books that are related to movies that are playing, things like that. So you can also go to the library. I have a lot of audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks all the time, especially when driving up to Hanover. It's about half an hour it takes me to get here, and that's perfect time for a swath of an audiobook. So it's it's not different functionally, it's just organized and a little better looking than it used to be.
So have you ever bought one of the audiobooks this way?
I don't buy my audiobooks directly here. You can through Apple. I'm a member of Audible, which is the Amazon's division that does audiobooks. And through Amazon, I download the book, find the book, download it, and import it into iTunes. And then I can sync iTunes books over to my iPad. That's how I do. You can actually directly load them in here. So I tend to like to do it so that if I forget where I am, you can actually cause it through the iCloud to sync your book where you are in a book. So if you left your iPhone and you happen to have the iPad and you want to go to where you were in the book, you could do that. You turn that feature on. So all these books, these are ones. Let's just do audiobooks. So these are ones so you can find out what's there available through Apple. These are ones I've downloaded. I happen to be, I'm a little bit of a history buff, so I went to here. I'm listening to one called Rome right at the moment, which is quite interesting. I don't know if any of you have seen the new movie about Neil Armstrong.
Not yet.
It's good, but I happen to have one of the books I was reading before that is this thing called Rocket Man, which is actually a much more in-depth discussion of the whole Apollo program. For those of us of our generation, it's memorable. My kids don't, they don't. What's
What was
that?
the name of it?
What's that?
What was the name of that book?
This book's called Rocket Man.
Rocket Man.
It's the one you're looking at right there.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm a big fan of audiobooks. I find commuting or long trips, it's great, because my wife and I will listen to some book that we both enjoy, and it makes the time go really fast when you're spending hours on highways, for example, so. So, when you're importing photos, they made a little, it used to be when you pulled in a photo through a photo card that you had through one of their photo card readers, you get them all and you'd have to organize them yourself. What they did in iOS 12 is it lets you have a menu where you can actually take the pictures you see and you can say, well, put this one in this album and this one in this album and things like that. A fairly minor change, but kind of useful.
I haven't had a card reader for some time. I've got one that I use Mac at home. Does it plug into the lightning port?
If you have one, they used to make them that plugged into the old connector, but then you have to get one that plugs into lightning. But yes, you can still use them. Yeah, they have one that plugs into lightning.
Okay.
I use them when I'm traveling. I'll take my iPad with me. If I actually have a camera, I'll pull
Right.
the card out and do it that way. Few things that you might want to be aware of, but it's only going to be meaningful if you have one of the newer devices that gets rid of the home button. So in order to get rid of the home button, they put some new gestures in to let you get to things like the home screen. And so now if you swipe up from these are things you do from the lock screen. So if I want to go home from the lock screen, you can't press the home button because there isn't one. You just swipe up to go to the home screen. And you can swipe down on the right to access the control center. They did this just because there's no home button anymore. And I had already mentioned that memories and shared tabs are under For You now. Those are actually most of the new features in iOS 12. There isn't too much other than that, other than they're always improving performance and fixing bugs along